Hi everyone, my name is Mira and I'm a third year industrial design student at Georgia Tech. And during this week of 16 weeks of internships, I'm going to show you what it's like to be an experience design intern at Adobe in San Francisco. So, how do I start my day? Since my internship is virtual, I'm currently interning from home in the Bay Area. I usually wake up around 7 a.m., so I have some time for myself before I start the workday. For the past couple of months, I've made it a habit to go on a 30-minute walk around my neighborhood every morning. Getting some fresh air and sunlight not only helps wake me up, but it also gives me some time to get some movement in before I sit at my desk all day. My breakfast changes every day depending what I'm in the mood for. Today was Greek yogurt and some mangoes. And if I have some more time before work starts, I like to read the New York Times and do the mini crossword. And then before I know it, it's time to log on to work and check my emails, calendar, and Slack. What is Adobe and what do I do as an experience design intern? Adobe is a multinational computer software company that's mission is to change the world through digital experiences. You may know Adobe's flagship products, such as Photoshop or Illustrator, but Adobe is continuously creating new products to empower the next generation of creatives. I'm currently interning on the Adobe Spark team, which is a mobile and web-based design application that allows users to create social media graphics, short videos, and web pages. Adobe Spark is all about empowering everyone to create, whether you're a small business owner or even a social media influencer. As an experience design intern, I'm currently working on redesigning a key feature within the product, and it's incredibly exciting to be a part of Adobe's mission to democratize creativity through simple products. This summer, I'm working on a long solo project and a couple of shorter team projects. My manager has been awesome and took the initiative to draft out a project timeline for my solo project, and we meet a couple times a week to check in and go over any blockers. He also forwards me a lot of his own meetings, so I'm able to sit in and learn more about the product team and how the designers operate within the company. I also got assigned a mentor buddy, who is a designer on the same team as me, and they're the person I go to with any questions about my project or even just random career and design questions. Even though my internship is remote, my team has been extremely supportive and I feel very lucky to be working with them. What does a typical day in my life look like? My days look pretty different each week, but I usually have a good balance of team meetings, intern events, and heads down time. This week, I'm currently synthesizing user interviews that I conducted last week and doing some design iterations and explorations based on the feedback. So this morning, I looked over my user interview notes and summarized the top key findings, as well as proposed a few design recommendations and areas to explore further. The rest of the day, I mostly had heads down time for designing. At Adobe, we of course use Adobe XD, which is a prototyping software. Something really nice about working at such a large company like Adobe is that it has a very robust design system, meaning we have a library of all the icons, illustrations, components, and main features to use. This is super helpful for me when it comes to designing, since designing screens is more about putting together Lego pieces from a kit rather than making every single new one from scratch. I had a couple of other meetings today, including a one-on-one with my mentor buddy, but I ended the day with a design team social. All of us were sent a macrame kit, and together we learned how to make a macrame plant hanger. One of the biggest perks about interning at Adobe is all the fun events and activities that we get to do. Adobe has more than 500 summer interns, and even though we're all virtual, the company tries super hard to make sure that interns have fun ways to meet each other and get a feel of the culture. So far, I've learned how to make Brazilian chocolate truffles, I cooked eggs Benedict, and I participated in a really fun pottery sculpting class. We've also gotten a lot of swag because what's a tech internship without company t-shirts, jackets, and mugs? Something I also appreciate is that Adobe interns get great wellness benefits like a reimbursement program for fitness classes and equipment, free nutritional and counseling sessions, and we even got a week off in July since Adobe has a company-wide shutdown, so I got to go to Colorado with my family. It's clear that Adobe really cares about its employees' mental and physical well-being, which is very important to me when I think about where I want to work full-time. How do I spend my free time? Work takes up a lot of my day, but I try my best to make time for fun activities and for my hobbies. I love spending time outside, going to Half Moon Bay with my family, hiking with my friends, playing pickleball, and working out a couple times a week. And I also love cooking with my family and trying out all the boba places in my area. I am also very passionate about design education and paying my knowledge forward to help others break into the design industry. I currently make YouTube videos about my experience as a product design student and design intern, so feel free to check out my channel and subscribe. I just posted a video on how I landed product design interviews, specifically at Adobe. I've also been spending my time prepping for a design bootcamp that I'm going to teach in the fall at my college, which is also super exciting. Okay, you've heard me talk a lot about my week, but how did I even get this internship at Adobe? And most importantly, how can you work at Adobe next summer? Let's get into the Q&A. What program are you in and what school do you go to? I am a rising third-year industrial design student at Georgia Tech, which is based in Atlanta, Georgia. And industrial design, a lot of people don't know what it means, but it's essentially the study of physical product design. So think of any product you own, an industrial designer has likely helped design it. Why did you decide to intern at Adobe? So I'm sure like a lot of design students, I grew up on Adobe products and found my love for design through them. So I remember using Illustrator and Photoshop and InDesign in high school, and Adobe XD was the prototyping software that I first found out about UX design. So of course, like the company always holds a special place in my heart. Adobe is also a very design-centered company with a large and stable design team, and at this point, mentorship and support was really important to me because I was previously at very small companies, which was hard for me to grow. And lastly, I was really interested in the Spark team just because of its mission to make designing even more accessible to people who have never had a design education or touched any tools before. How did you find your internship? So it's pretty funny, I actually applied to Adobe online. I applied to around like 60 companies last fall and had a couple of referrals, but Adobe I honestly thought was a shot in the dark. I just saw the listing on the company website and decided to give it a shot. So I applied for the experience design intern role for around 5 different Adobe product teams since there were individual listings, and I heard back from Spark around a month later. And this is just proof that it only takes one yes, and if you don't hear back, it's not because you're not capable or you're not good enough. A lot of it has to do with being the right fit for that team since they're looking for a specific skill set, so that might be why I heard back from one team but not the others. What skills and past experiences helped you get the internship? So when I was in college doing physical product design and decided I wanted to do digital, I tried so hard to find so many ways I could get experience without a formal internship. So I did a lot of school opportunities in clubs, and I also did a ton of personal projects on the side. I also ended up doing a couple product design internships that definitely helped me get that real world experience. But I think the most important thing that helped me actually was taking a gap year this past year. I just have some personal health conditions that left me no choice but to take a year off of school during the pandemic, but it actually worked out really well since I was able to have a lot of time to do my own personal projects. I really tried to dive into complex problem spaces and projects I was really passionate about because I now didn't have the constraints of school assignments. And I also did a lot of designathons and hackathons, and I think one of the hackathon projects was in a similar problem space that the team I was interviewing was working on, so I think that also caught their eye too. What is the most valuable lesson you've learned from your internship? I think I have 2 valuable lessons. I think number 1 is just staying curious. I've always been someone to ask a lot of questions and ask for feedback early and often, but of course in a remote setting it's kind of hard to be curious and get to know people, especially if you're an introvert like me. So just making sure you're putting yourself out there and trying to meet people on other teams. Use being an intern as an advantage to ask any kind of question and people will be happy to help you. And also just know that you really get what you put in out of internship. So if you put in your best effort, you're likely to have a better outcome. Another lesson that I learned was, especially with design, keep in mind that if you're at a larger company, you're likely going to be working with a very robust design system and a lot of cross-functional team members, so definitely take those to your advantage. A lot of my project was copying and pasting components from the design system or reaching out to user research for their slide decks on data or product managers about their requirements, and that's something that you really get to immerse yourself in at a big company. Being a part of such an established design team was also very reassuring, since as a product design intern, I definitely gravitate more toward the UX and research side. So just knowing that at companies that have design systems, like, you don't have to design and create every single icon and button, it definitely made me feel a lot better. You're also most likely going to be working on a much smaller scope than like a school assignment, so maybe like a product feature or even just a couple of screens. You're able to really dive deep into those screens instead of trying to cover so much ground. How do you stay productive and motivated while working remotely? Honestly, to be transparent, this is very difficult for me. I get distracted a lot since I'm working in my bedroom and I have migraines and headaches, so it's hard for me to be very focused on a screen. But Adobe actually just had a wellness session on energy management and it was super interesting. The session talked about how everyone has a time of the day where they're at their peak focus, so it's important to carve out those 2 to 3 hours for uninterrupted focus, deep work time. And it's not entirely realistic if you're having to go to meetings and stuff that's out of your control, but it is helpful to know. So for me, the afternoon slump is really bad. After lunch, I don't feel like pixel pushing designs, whereas I get more important things done earlier from like 8 to 11 a.m. So as much as I can, when I have control of my meetings, making sure I schedule them for later in the afternoon so I can have my focus time in the morning has been really helpful. Also, just being kind to yourself, like taking a break from the screen, remembering to eat, staying hydrated. Like, it's kind of hard when stuff is remote and you feel like you have to be working for those 8 hours straight, but keep in mind that honestly, sometimes you can crank out a lot of output in just a couple of hours. How did you pivot from physical to digital product design? To be honest, it was pretty difficult. I definitely lacked resources or people who were knowledgeable about the digital product design industry, specifically in the tech space, but it's definitely 100% possible. I think the most important thing is to try and connect with people who are in similar situations and learn from each other. So that could either be like watching YouTube videos or reading Medium articles or even trying to find some like design community at your school or even online. I also tried to take as many multidisciplinary classes as I could to make myself more well-rounded. For example, I took electives in like computer science, psychology, visual design, even like interactive smart products like with Arduinos and coding, and just trying to like get bits and pieces of knowledge from each different department at my school. And lastly, I think the most important thing is realizing that there's no perfect major for digital product design just because it's such a new field and it's also extremely interdisciplinary. I know this term is very overused, but product design is really in the intersection of like design, technology, and business. So when you're working on your projects and applying to companies, make sure you're thinking about your unique perspective. I had a ton of fun showing you around my day as an experience design intern at Adobe. If you're interested in pursuing product design or a career at Adobe, I hope this gave you a glimpse into what it's like. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out to me at any of the social media platforms you see on the screen, and be sure to check out my YouTube channel for more product design content. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the 16 Weeks YouTube channel. You should also follow 16 Weeks on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and comment down below any video requests or ideas you would like to see from the team. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or just want to say hey, and be sure to stick around next week to learn more about Sophie's internship at the Museum of Ice Cream. Bye!